If I can have your attention here in the media center, we are going to continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability, and we're joined now by Ricky Stenhouse Jr., driver of the number 17 GoBowling.com Ford for Roush Fenway Racing. Ricky, fresh off of his win last weekend at Talladega Super Speedway. Ricky, what has this week been like for you, following in the footsteps of that win and enjoying that whole process?
It's been a good week, fun week and long week at the same time. You know, Monday, Ryan Blaney and I went up to Cleveland to film American Ninja Warrior, which was fun. And then we got back and had, you know, our team meeting on Tuesday, team lunch, and, you know, some media and some interviews. We got to hang out at the shop with the guys, and that was good. And then had a little celebration dinner on Tuesday night, and went out with some friends, so that was cool. And then a lot of media on Wednesday, and then finally got to do some rest on Thursday. So get ready for this weekend, and you know, now that you know, we've been on track today, it's start of a new week, and you know, we're looking forward to the task at hand this weekend.
Okay, we're going to open the floor for questions. We'll start up front here with Todd, then we'll go to Brent.
I got you. Go ahead.
First one was you obviously got your first win before your girlfriend, who also races. Did you have bragging rights this week as a result of that?
No, we don't talk about it. I mean, we're like every other driver. Everybody wants to win. So, you know, I didn't have bragging rights with anybody else that hasn't won either. So we just go out and try to win.
And how many, was it just you and Ryan, or were there some other guys?
Just Ryan and I did it in Cleveland. Ben Kennedy did it when it was in Daytona, which was pretty cool. I wish we'd have been able to do it then, but our schedules didn't work out. And then from IndyCar, I think Connor Daly did it in San Antonio. So last year, you know, the IndyCar guys and myself did it in Indy, which was really cool, cool venue. But Ryan and I were the only one that do it in Cleveland, and we had a lot of fun with it. I'm not sure when it's going to air. I think sometime in July 27th or something. So it should be fun.
Go next to Brett, and then to the back to Brian.
Brett Lamb, Speedway Digest. Last weekend you spoke so passionately about your hometown, and I wanted to ask you, what was the response like from your friends and some of the people back at home after getting your first win last weekend in Talladega?
Yeah, it was cool. You know, the governor called me, invited me to lunch down in Jackson, so hopefully I can get there, do that sometime. But you know, it's cool to have a lot of friends. You know, I saw some teachers send out some things on social media, and that I was, they were teachers of me in classes, and then just to have all your friends, people that you raced with at home, super proud of you. So that was really cool. They know that this was my biggest win of my career and toughest one. So it was cool to see the response, and made me feel really good.
Go next to Brian, then to Chris, then to Rich.
Brian Nelson with Motor Racing Network. So anytime anybody wins at a restrictor plate track, there's always the Cinderella stories and all that stuff. But you guys have really been strong all year long. Do you feel, or how do you characterize, you know, the progress you've made, and then showing up at Kansas this weekend and being strong in practice? How big was that?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, like I tell people, I was feeling really good about our season before the win. You know, that win was just, you know, put us over the top of how we feel. But we know that we still have a job to do, and that's to continue to make this organization better and our cars better, not make mistakes. You know, we know where we need to get better. The short tracks have been really good to us this year, and we feel really good there. The speedways we showed last week, we had a lot of speed in qualifying and in the race, and so we know we need to get better on really the fast, smooth tracks like Las Vegas, Texas, and here. You know, we had a good practice session. Didn't really worry too much about qualifying, just really trying to build a notebook for the next time we come back. But, you know, I think for us, we're feeling really good with our Go Bowling Ford this weekend.
ChrisKnightCatchFence.com. Ricky, the cars looked extremely loose out there during practice today. Is that a trend that you see will see continued into the race, even though the practice during the day and we race tomorrow night and then have follow-up?
I hope not. They're definitely tough to drive. I think right now, started practice with the truck rubber down, maybe a little bit different tire. Maybe had a factor of that. Once I felt like our rubber got down and we got all over the racetrack, my car seemed to get a little bit better for me. But others were still on edge. Larson texted me in between practices and asked if mine was as edgy and kind of sketchy as his was, and I told him it was. First practice, I was not feeling real well about it. I feel good with the speed that we have in our car, but it just doesn't drive very good, which is okay if you can keep it going straight. But, I think the less downforce, the wind's blowing pretty good out there. Some hard tires, it's definitely tricky. We'll see how it is in the race. Generally, the race starts out generally a little bit on edge. I feel like we all kind of tiptoe around to start the race just because it's quite a bit different than when we practice during the day. And then it kind of comes to everybody once we keep racing through.
And Roush Fenway Racing decided to do a tough deal and downsize from 3 cars to 2 cars last year. How much do you feel like that's contributed to the success of the team this year, or do you feel like it's been more than that just with the organizational changes and you guys just being more prepared this year?
Yeah, I think it's it goes both ways. I think right now where we're good is, the people that we put in place and the things that we worked on in the off season. That being said, I do think it's easier to get everything done to our 2 cars versus doing them to 3. There was times last year that we had some updates that we couldn't get into all 3 cars. We had to kind of pick and choose. And so, it's nice now knowing that if they find something on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we can get it in our cars for the weekend, and it'll be in both of them. So I do think that that's been a help, and I hope that it helps us continue to make progress throughout the season, where last year we started out okay, just didn't maintain that throughout the rest of the season.
Go to
Ricky,
Rich.
Rich Culbreth, Motor Racing Network. Next week's the All-Star race. You raced your way in, I think it was 2013. It's got to be exciting to know that you're locked in this time around. And have you given much thought on the strategy for next week? And you think those softer tires that you're given sometime during the race is going to make a difference?
I hope they make a difference. I think tires make a big difference. Just from, you can run the same compound and same structure build on a weekend and then have it, different date codes. And if you have an older date code versus some of your newer date codes, the car doesn't drive near as well. So we've experienced that here at Kansas. One of the things that I felt like we had a little bit off in the first practice was some date codes on our tires, so we didn't try to tune too much around that. You put on a different set of tires for the next practice with date codes that you have the rest of the weekend, and the car feels a lot better. So I guess a softer tire at Charlotte should help quite a bit.
Go to Randy, then to Reed, then to Todd.
Randy Kovitz, this is for USA Today. Kind of combo question. Number one, do you know the governor of Mississippi, or he just happened to call out of the blue?
I met Phil Bryant before Atlanta. I went down to Jackson and talked in front of the House of Representatives, and they had me in the state capitol. So that's when I met him earlier this year, and then now we obviously got a win, and he was super excited. He's a big race car guy, loves racing.
Okay, and I guess the other thing with Ryan, that was already pre-scheduled before you won Talladega.
Yeah, it was. I got up there, and they were surprised I still showed up.
And finally, along these lines, how life's changed for you. And then you happen to get another sponsor for a little later in the season. Was that in the wake of your win, or was that in the works too?
No, that was already in the works. We've been working real hard on sponsorship, working hard on getting our cars performing better. We've been working on all aspects of our company, and for me, I would say life's changed. I still went to the shop 2 days this week, and still did all the normal things. A little bit more media. Kind of felt like back when I was running Xfinity and winning quite often, which was nice to get that feeling back, and makes you want to keep doing that. So for us, it's back to normal this weekend, and from here on out till we start winning some more.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. With the win and almost assuredly being in the playoff, does that affect and change your approach to the rest of the season? Do you start paying in particular attention to tracks like this one that are going to be in the playoff, et cetera?
I told my guys I didn't really want to change our approach to the weekends. I wanted to, continue to do the same thing that we've been doing throughout the season. Try to limit our mistakes, try to keep that momentum and going. Now, yeah, we are going to focus in a little more on Charlotte here, Dover. Look at the Chicago race, make sure that we focus in on that. Loudon as well. So there's definitely tracks that we'll try to build a bigger notebook when we're there on the weekend. The Michigan's not as important, even though it is important to Jack Roush. We still gotta put all our eggs and go into Michigan and in the basket to try and get Ford and Jack a win there, because that's important to them. So therefore, I want to keep trying to do the weekend the same as what we have been. I told the guys I wanted to make it on points. Let's be consistent. Let's make sure we're running well and not slacking off. And so I want to act like we don't have the win, and let's still try to make it in on points.
Go to Todd.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did American Ninja Warrior last year
Yeah.
too, right? How much easier or different was it this time, since you already kind of had some experience with the atmosphere?
Yeah.
And did you do any additional training this year?
So last year I did a lot of training, and I was working out all the time, and went to a few different ninja type gyms, and got there and I felt prepared, and then I fell off on the rolling log. And I would say this year's course, there was things that was harder, and there was things that probably weren't as hard. They switch it up every year, and then every city that they do it throughout the year. And so I was super nervous last year. There was times that I got nervous this year waiting to go, but after the Talladega win, I felt a lot better. And I met a few people the year before, that run some gyms that come to a lot of the shows, and they were there. So it was cool to kind of have a group of people cheering for you that you had met there the year before.
Do you have a favorite?
Man, there's so many good ones. I think the girls are really impressive that do it. I keep trying to talk Danica into doing it. I think she would do really well. But watching the girls like Casey and Megan, who are fairly short and doing a lot of it's just the exact same obstacles. And so I always think that's pretty impressive.
Reed? Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire. Just curious, with the bare white walls in the corner here, is it tougher to find marks?
For me, no, because I don't use marks that often on circle tracks. On road courses, places like Pocono, where every corner is quite a bit different. I use some markers. Mile and a half, so I generally don't use many markers. I kind of go off a feel. But for some drivers, there are some drivers that use markers, so I'm sure it's a little bit more difficult.
Any additional questions? Let's go to Chris.
Yeah, Ricky, I was just curious, after Talladega last weekend and you got through media responsibilities and you were able to calm down, I was wondering what that conversation was like with your dad after everything that he went through to get to you in victory lane.
Yeah. It was good. He was headed home on Monday, and they found his golf cart, so he turned around, went back and got it. But for him, it was really cool because he put a ton of work into my career, and for him to be at my first win, was super emotional for him, and I was really glad to have him there. He told me that he was having to charge his phone probably 2-3 times a day with everybody calling and congratulating him, and I think that's one of the things that he loved about the win, being able to talk to people that helped us race sprint cars and sponsored us there, and helped him throughout his career, because really my career started before I was born when he was racing, and all the people that he had worked with and helped him, and then that was. He's out doing yard work in the yard, and people stopping by, all day while he was doing that. It was a good week for him. He came to Kansas, and so he's ready to go. I think he wants to go to every race now. I don't know, 10 or so. In the Xfinity car, before I owned a motorhome and ran Cup, I didn't get a motorhome until I ran Cup, and I'd gotten him a motorhome, and he would just bring it to the track every now and then. So he would come to, I think in 2012, he came to 25 races or so. And then since I've been in Cup and have my own motorhome, he just kind of comes when he can get all his work done. So he builds engines for a living, works 16 hours a day at the engine shop, and cuts grass, and then comes here as quick as he can.
Well, Ricky, don't be a stranger in the way you're running this season. I don't think you will be. So good luck
no.
this
Thank you.
weekend, and we'll see you later.